Before we get started, I want to announce I'm doing a one-round mock draft contest. I'll link that down in the description below. It's free to enter, and the winner is going to get a t-shirt of their choosing from my store, so make sure you check that out. Quick disclaimer, guys, I'm going to pin a post with all the timestamps for every pick individually, so if you want to skip ahead, you can do that. Nobody knows their team better than the actual fans that have to sit through every single game. That is why for my mock draft, I decided to take a deeper look into each and every NFL team's fan forums to get a better idea of who I think they should pick. I'm going to link all the fan forums that I use down in the description of this video. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of debate in the comments, so come on, let me have it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's jump into the mock draft. With the number 1 overall pick, we have the Arizona Cardinals. I have them taking the 5'10", 207-pound Kyler Murray, the quarterback out of Oklahoma. We've all seen the footage of Cliff saying that he'd take Murray number 1 if he had the number 1 overall pick, but I think that was him just being polite just before he was about to face an opponent in college. This seems like the Cardinal fans are split on this decision. I actually went into their forum and they have a poll up, and about 49% of people said yes, take Kyler, 51% said no, so the fan base is totally split on this. I did debate this a lot. I tried to defend Rosen because of his O-line problems, but after looking deeper into it, I believe that's overblown. Rosen was pressured on 40% of his dropbacks. The league average is 34%. At number 2 overall, we have the San Francisco 49ers. I have them taking the 6'4", 264-pound Nick Bosa, the defensive end out of Ohio State. The 49ers have added Dee Ford and Kwan Alexander to their defense, but it appears their fan base is still riding the pass rusher train. In a poll on their fan forum, 17% wanted to trade down, while the remaining 83% either didn't care or wanted to draft a pass rusher. In a division with Russell Wilson and potentially Kyler Murray, it will be imperative that the 49ers have enough athletic pass rushers. Bosa is widely considered the best prospect in this draft, even after missing time this season. Brother Joey plays for the LA Chargers, so Callie gets brother number 2 to the 49ers. Honorable mention here is going to be Quinnen Williams. Coming up at number 3, we have the New York Jets. I have them taking the 6'3", 303-pound defensive tackle Quinnen Williams out of Alabama. Most Jet fans are praying for Bosa to slip and fall. I think the only way that happens is if both the quarterbacks go 1 and 2. And after watching Haskins' combine, I'm not so sure a team is going to fork over a ton of picks to get him. If Bosa is not there, I'd love to see the Jets trade down to acquire more picks, but for that to happen, you need a second team to want to move up. The Giants aren't going to trade with the Jets. A trade hasn't happened between them in 30 years. The Jets will not gift the Dolphins their future franchise quarterback, so ultimately the Jets will be forced to sit at 3 and make the pick. I tossed around the idea of taking Josh Allen, but his lack of pass rush moves has me worried. Quinnen Williams could arguably be the best player in this year's draft and has the potential to be the next Aaron Donald. With Leo going into the final year of his contract, look for the Jets to find his replacement with this pick. Honorable mention, Josh Allen. At number 4, we have the soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders, selecting the 6'4", 230-pound Josh Allen, the outside linebacker from Kentucky. I think a lot of people thought the Raiders were outright crazy after trading Khalil Mack, and it appears the Raiders fans felt the same way. As a fan of a team whose fans have bought billboards and flown banners over practices to fire our coach, I can appreciate isgrudengonyet.com. Nonetheless, I think Gruden has actually started to make some good moves. Landing a motivated Antonio Brown for pennies on the dollar was brilliant. I really like them adding Tyrell Williams and Trent Brown as well in free agency. For this pick, they try to replace the $23 million edge rusher and take Josh Allen. Allen had arguably the best college career of any of the pass rushers. While facing the toughest conference in college football, he was able to rack up 31.5 sacks and 42 tackles for loss. It's still a long shot to replace Mack, but part of the NFL game is the salary cap, so going with an inexpensive option is a tough decision that needs to be made. Honorable mention, Ed Oliver. At number 5, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have them selecting the 6'2", 290-pound Ed Oliver, the defensive tackle from Houston. With how strong this draft is defensively, Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles will have a hard time not going defense. The Bucs have gone out over the last few years to address their offensive line with Ryan Jensen, Ali Marpet, and Donovan Smith. In a division with Cam Newton, Drew Brees, and Matt Ryan, their best chance of success will be if those guys are laying on their back. They could opt to go with Devin White since former linebacker Kwan Alexander is now with San Francisco, although I think they might offer up a mid-round pick to acquire Jets linebacker Darren Lee since Todd Bowles is now their new defensive coordinator. Having someone that he's familiar with might help them install that defense just a little bit easier. Honorable mention here, Devin White. With the number 6 pick, we have the New York Football Giants. I have them selecting the 6'2", 214-pound quarterback Dwayne Haskins out of Ohio State. The rumor right now is that they are not interested in Haskins, but I don't buy that for a minute. Eli Manning is going into the final year of his contract, and the Giants are trying to blow a smokescreen so no one trades up in front of them. I'll be honest, it's hard to see a plan formulating for the New York Giants. I love Saquon Barkley, but after allowing Landon Collins to go to a division rival and trading away the league's most explosive wide receiver in Odell Beckham Jr., it sure does feel like the Giants made the wrong decision passing on Sam Darnold last year. Luckily, Giants fans will have the luxury of sitting back at 6 and having their new signal caller fall to them. Haskins has a big-time arm and can get the ball downfield. While he's not the most mobile of quarterbacks, no one's going to mistake him for the statue that is Eli Manning. The Giants are committed to Eli for this season, but his story will loop full circle as he now becomes the Kurt Warner mentor role for Dwayne Haskins. The team still has plenty of firepower for Haskins to succeed, and trading for Zeitler, who is a top-level guard, is just what the Giants needed to allow their quarterback more time and open up lanes for Saquon Barkley. Honorable mention here, Drew Lock. With the 7th overall pick, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have them selecting the 6'5", 243-pound T.J. Hawkinson, the tight end out of Iowa. The Jags are in a great position to take a top tackle, tight end, or wide receiver. I don't know if there's really a wrong answer here, but to me it comes down to who I believe the best overall prospect is. The Hawkeyes have produced Dallas Clark and George Kittle. T.J. Hawkinson is about to be added to that list. In my opinion, he is by far the best tight end in this class and the safest of the weapons that could be added for new quarterback Nick Foles. His NFL comparison is Travis Kelce. If the Jags feel that is accurate, you'd be silly to pass up on this kind of talent. Honorable mention, DK Metcalf. At number 8 overall is the Detroit Lions. I have them selecting the 6', 237-pound linebacker Devin White out of LSU. The Lions filled the void left by Ziggy Ansah with Trey Flowers, but Matt Patricia is not done yet. White was a captain in the LSU defense and won the Butkus Award for the best linebacker in the country. I think Greedy Williams will likely be in play for this pick as well, but White is too good to pass up at this spot. Honorable mention, Greedy Williams. With the 9th pick, I have the Buffalo Bills selecting the 6'5", 334-pound tackle out of Florida, Jawan Taylor. There will be a small minority that think DK Metcalf is a real possibility with this pick, given how this regime seems to love physical freaks like Josh Allen and Tremaine Edmonds. Sure, they tried to land Antonio Brown, but after spending money on John Brown and Cole Beasley in free agency, I think it's time for them to keep Allen upright. Jawan Taylor is just what the doctor ordered. Honorable mention, Rashawn Gary. With the 10th overall pick, we got the Denver Broncos. I have them selecting the 6'3", 225-pound quarterback Drew Lock out of Missouri. Bronco fans are likely split on this decision. They have Joe Flacco under contract for the next 3 years, but he can be cut at any point since all his guaranteed money has already been paid out. Elway has not had success drafting quarterbacks so far, but I believe Locke is the best of the bunch that he has brought in. Even though his touchdown numbers were down in 2017, he has grown as a quarterback. With Vic Fangio as the new head coach, I expect him to take his own franchise quarterback to groom while he allows Joe Flacco and his defense to win games in the short term. Honorable mention, Jonah Williams. At number 11, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. I have them taking the 6'5", 301-pound tackle out of Alabama, Jonah Williams. I think new head coach Zach Taylor will have his eyes on a quarterback since Andy Dalton's contract is easy to move on from, but I think he wants to see the team in action before making that kind of commitment. There are rumors that teams are inquiring about A.J. Green's availability, so there are talks about whether or not the Bengals are looking to blow it up this season. Taylor saw in L.A. how a dominant offensive line can lead to success. While he reassesses the quarterback position, he begins to build the foundation for his future signal caller. Honorable mention, Rashawn Gary. With the 12th overall pick, we have the Green Bay Packers. I have them taking the 6'1", 182-pound cornerback out of LSU, Greedy Williams. This is where I likely lose Packer fans. I think they'd love to have Hawkinson or White with this pick, as their two biggest problem areas are tight end and inside linebacker. With both those guys off the board, I think they could look to move down a few picks for a team looking to leapfrog the Dolphins for a quarterback. I was toying with the idea of DK Metcalf here, but with the Packers owning a second first-round pick, I think they can address wide receiver later on in the draft. With this pick, they take the best player available in Greedy Williams, who beat up on DK Metcalf when they versed each other this season. With new addition Adrian Amos, this secondary is going to frustrate the heck out of the NFC North. Honorable mention, DK Metcalf. At number 13, we have the Miami Dolphins. I have them taking the 6'5", 310-pound tackle out of Washington State, Andre Dillard. After missing on Teddy Bridgewater and signing Ryan Fitzpatrick to a 2-year deal, the Dolphins desperately need a quarterback, so a trade-up is certainly in the cards. With Murray, Haskins, and Locke off the board, they decide to go belly up to protect their future signal caller. Dillard only allowed 1 sack in his 41 games. Honorable mention, Greg Little. At number 14, we have the Atlanta Falcons. I have them selecting the 6'4", 264-pound Clelin Ferrell, the edge rusher out of Clemson. Just 5 years after taking Vic Beasley out of Clemson, the Falcons decide to go back to the well for Ferrell. I wanted to have the Falcons take Andre Dillard here at this slot, but sadly he's not available. Taking Ferrell will free up Beasley and Jarrett to get after the quarterback, and in a division with Drew Brees and Cam Newton, the best way to beat them is to get pressure on him. Honorable mention, Greg Little. At number 15, we have the Washington Redskins. I have them taking the 6'4", 338-pound Cody Ford, the guard and tackle out of Oklahoma. The Redskins' biggest needs are left guard, free safety, and inside linebacker. With the recent investment into Landon Collins and the injuries to their quarterbacks last year, I chose to go with offensive line. O-line should be a strength for the Redskins, but they've been hit hard with injuries over the last few years. The Redskins already have a heavy amount invested into the offensive line as it is, but I don't believe they target a quarterback this year unless one of the top 3 fall. With this move, they build a strong foundation similar to their division rivals, the Cowboys and Eagles. Honorable mention here, Devin Bush. At number 16, we have the Carolina Panthers. I have them taking the 6'4", 300-pound Christian Wilkins, the defensive tackle out of Clemson. I think with this pick, the Panthers are going to look towards a pass rusher. With this selection, they decide to look close to home. The quickest way to get to a quarterback is right up the gut. Matt Ryan and Drew Brees aren't total statues, but no one is going to mistake them for being very mobile either. If the Panthers want to make the playoffs, they're going to need to get out of their division first. Honorable mention here, Rashawn Gary. At number 17, we have the New York Giants, who acquired this pick via Cleveland and the Odell trade. I have them taking the 6'4", 281-pound defensive end out of Michigan, Rashawn Gary. There's part of me that wanted to give the Giants DK Metcalf here, but I opted for the DN to replace Olivier Vernon, who was just traded to the Browns. The Giants know what it takes to win a Super Bowl, and pass rusher is near the top of that list. He has a high-energy motor that allows him to get after the quarterback, as well as bottle up running backs on a consistent basis. They draft 2 cornerstones for their team in round 1 with Haskins and Gary. Honorable mention here, DK Metcalf. At number 18, we have the Minnesota Vikings. I have them taking the 6'6", 325-pound offensive tackle Greg Little out of Ole Miss. Don't let the name fool you, this guy is massive. NFL GMs love their big body tackles, and Little checks all the boxes. The Vikings were loaded this past season, but were hamstrung by terrible offensive line play. They look to take the best offensive lineman on the board, and in this mock, that's Greg Little. If they can give Cousins more time to throw the ball, he can be deadly accurate. Not to mention, it would be nice to see them effectively utilize Dalvin Cook in the run game. Honorable mention here, Dexter Lawrence. At number 19, we have the Tennessee Titans. I have them selecting the 6'5", 249-pound defensive end out of Florida State, Brian Burns. The Titans quietly had one of the better free agents. Watson should be priority number 1. Honorable mention, Jalen Ferguson. At number 20, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have them taking the 5'11", 234-pound linebacker out of Michigan, Devin Bush. Along with being a 4-star recruit going into college, he is also the son of former NFL defensive tackle Devin Bush Sr. Bush is undersized, but he has the range and speed to cover nearly any running back in the NFL. There will be times he gets washed out of a run play when taking on big offensive linemen, but in today's NFL, covering the pass has to be priority number 1. Honorable mention, DK Metcalf. At number 21, we have the Seattle Seahawks, and here it is. 6'3", 225 pounds. I have them taking the wide receiver out of Ole Miss, DK Metcalf. I wanted to go offensive line for the Seahawks here, but all the top guys are off the board. Instead, I have them look at a player with arguably the highest upside in room at the line, or he'll throw them aside with his size. Honorable mention, N'Keal Harry. At number 22, we have the Baltimore Ravens. I have them selecting 6'3", 216-pound N'Keal Harry, the wide receiver out of Arizona State. It's obvious that Lamar Jackson thinks that he needs a wide receiver. He just tried to recruit Tyreek Hill on a social media post. At 22, I think this is the sweet spot where we will start to see wide receivers fly off the board, and N'Keal Harry is arguably the best of the bunch. He will be a matchup nightmare inside the 20. Lamar won't have to worry too much about his accuracy when throwing in his direction, as Harry's catch radius is absolutely massive. Honorable mention, Hakeem Butler. At number 23, we have the Houston Texans. I have them taking the 5'11", 2017. The Texans find themselves a shutdown corner. Honorable mention, Dexter Lawrence. At number 24, we have the Oakland Raiders. This pick is courtesy of the Chicago Bears as part of the Khalil Mack trade. I have them taking the 5'10", 216-pound running back out of Alabama, Josh Jacobs. The Raiders continue their rebuild by adding the draft's top running back to go along with Antonio Brown and Tyrell Williams. Jacobs is a jack of all trades, combining a powerful running style with the elusiveness needed to make guys miss in the open space. Out of the backfield, he is a quality receiver that NFL teams are looking to add to their rosters. But you better watch out. If this guy lowers his shoulder, you don't want to be in his way. Honorable mention, Trayvon Mullen. At number 25, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. I have them selecting the 6'4", 305-pound offensive guard out of Boston College, Chris Lindstrom. I'm going to need your help, Eagles fans. I know this is a reach here, but the way my board fell, this may be the worst-case scenario for you guys. Lindstrom is the top guard in this class, but he could easily drop into the second round. I think Jacobs is the ideal pick for your team, so perhaps if this situation were to play out, the Eagles would look to move back. At the very least, Lindstrom didn't allow any sacks or quarterback hits and only had 4 quarterback hurries this past season. Honorable mention, trade back. At number 26, we have the Indianapolis Colts. I have them taking the 6'5", 241-pound defensive end out of Mississippi State, Montez Sweat. The Colts need to add a pass rusher, and Sweat checks all the right boxes. He is one of the best players in this year's draft, but after word leaked that he has a pre-existing heart condition, his draft stock will likely take a hit. It's said teams knew about this condition prior to the NFL Combine, but with so many other edge rushers available, they decided to pass on Sweat. With this selection, the Colts rolled the dice on a top 15 caliber D-end in the late 20s. Honorable mention, Jerry Tillery. At number 27, we have the Oakland Raiders. This is going to be their third first-round pick of the round. This pick is courtesy of the Dallas Cowboys and the Amari Cooper trade. I have them taking the 6', 175-pound cornerback out of Washington, Byron Murphy. It's amazing how different the Raiders team is after just 1 year. They ship off Cooper and Mack only to nab their replacements in Antonio Brown, Tyrell Williams, and Josh Allen. With the additions of LaMarcus Joyner and Josh Jacobs, their biggest needs will be offensive line and cornerback. I don't believe there is an offensive lineman worthy of this selection, so the Raiders opt for the best cornerback on the board. You can argue who that player is, but I think this pick has a good chance of being a cornerback. Murphy is a ball-hawking cornerback, and he received the top grade from Pro Football Focus after excelling in a heavy zone scheme. I'm no expert on the Raiders by any means. They may prefer a press man corner, but as far as skill set goes, Murphy is a top cornerback. Honorable mention, Noah Fant. At number 28 overall, we have the Los Angeles Chargers. I have them taking the 6'6", 295-pound defensive tackle out of Notre Dame, Jerry Tillery. Tillery has had his share of issues, but his talent and mean streak will be admired by NFL GMs. His 2018 campaign was nothing short of fantastic with 8 sacks, 10.5 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, and 2 blocked kicks. The Chargers hope to emulate the other Los Angeles team and land their version of Aaron Donald late in round 1. Honorable mention, Draymond Jones. At number 29, I have the Chiefs selecting the 6'1", 226-pound wide receiver out of Ole Miss, A.J. Brown. With Tyreek Hill's future up in the air, the Chiefs decide to add a wide receiver in the top of this year's draft. Brown was the more productive of the wide receivers down at Ole Miss, and the Chiefs would be ecstatic if he fell to them at 29. Unlike Metcalf, Brown has been healthy throughout his college career. If he lines up in the slot, he will be a mismatch nightmare for opposing defensive coordinators. He will work across the middle with his quick release and sharp cuts. Honorable mention, Hakeem Butler. At number 30, we have the Green Bay Packers. This pick is courtesy of the New Orleans Saints, who gave away this pick to trade up for Davenport in last year's draft. I have the Packers selecting the 6'5", 227-pound wide receiver out of Iowa State, Hakeem Butler. So I said the Packers would be addressing wide receiver with this pick, and boy do they get a good one. Butler has had his issues with drops. He had 17 over the course of his college career, but at 6'5", this guy is a beast in jump ball scenarios. We've all seen the amazing half-field Hail Marys from Aaron Rodgers. Just imagine this cat jumping over smaller cornerbacks and safeties. He is my favorite receiver in this draft, but has not received the hype that guys like Metcalf, Brown, or Harry have gotten. Honorable mention, Noah Fant. At number 31, we have the Los Angeles Rams. I have them selecting the 6'3", 300-pound center out of NC State, Garrett Bradbury. With Gurley's health a real question mark, they could opt to take a running back here if one falls to them. The Rams did take a hit this offseason after losing Roger Saffold to the Tennessee Titans. McVay is a savvy young coach, and he understands the importance of having a dominant offensive line. As a Jets fan, I can talk all day about how important the center position is. We struggled just to get the ball to Darnold all last season. Take the questions out of the equation and allow Bradbury to help Goff and the running game. Honorable mention, Draymond Jones. And at pick number 32, we have the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. I have them taking the 6'4", 249-pound tight end out of Iowa, Noah Fant. Honestly, it would not shock me in the slightest to see this pick traded to get Cardinals quarterback Josh Rosen. There were rumors that the Patriots were going to try and make a bold move to get him last year. Father Time has to catch up to Brady at some point. However, if they decide to keep this pick, I believe they look at tight end. With Gronk contemplating retirement, the Patriots decide to address the position before it becomes vacant. 2 tight ends from the same school going in the first round? I can't say I remember a time where this has happened, but Fant is worth the selection. He needs a little work in his run blocking, but as a receiver, he will cause the AFC teams fits the way Gronk has over the past decade. Honorable mention, Daniel Jones. So there you have it. That's my 2019 NFL mock draft. Let me know down in the comments where I screwed up and what you would like to see differently.